The map that people are afraid of. This is 35 megabytes, the quality, so it's 4500 pixels horizontally per 6500 vertically, so it's a super high resolution, super ultra mega definitive quality. I think this is the best quality of this map in existence, and of course it's free on the internet, so you can find it really easy. The Gleason map, so the new standard map of the world, Gleason's on the projection of J.S. Christopher Modern College, Blackheath, England, scientifically and practically correct, as it is. Longitude and time calculator, patent allowed on November 15, 1892, so 8 years before the turn of the century. Applications made in England, Canada, France, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, and Austria. The United States of America is not here, because in those days, the world was different. So, why are people afraid of this? Let's just start. I mean, this is like the original stuff, and then if I like click here, then it goes, this is like the zoom, the standard zoom. As you can see, everything is so, even for a map from 1892, the details, you can actually read pretty much many of the things. Of course, when we say, look at this, can you see? Remember, this is the year 1892, and they're showing white stuff. Can you see the white stuff? This white stuff, it's white for a reason, like this here, appearance of land. Check this out, appearance of land, and it goes all the way, barrier of ice. People insult this map. They say, oh, it's a projection from the globe map on a 2D plane. There was no globe in 1892. In schools, nobody was studying the globe. There was no universal pictures from Hollywood. All that started from the 1900s, 1910, 1920 were the first pictures. So, barrier of ice. And then they had like different land names here, but they call it the barrier of ice, and it has an actual white color, and this is thousands of kilometers of ice until you reach the next world. Of course, I'm not saying that Australia, that looks like this, that is perfectly accurate. Remember, this is 1892. No computers, no helicopters, no airplanes. Well, not for us. Of course, the other humanity had them, but not we. I mean, this is a map made by our human species, according to what maps were available to them from the previous centuries. And this is the reason why people are afraid of this map, because this map explains everything. First of all, the size of the continents. Look at the size of Africa. Look at the size of South America. So much bigger than North America, and definitely so much bigger than Europe. Europe is tiny and small in this world. Look at the size of Greenland. You put Greenland in Europe and it covers pretty much all of continental Europe. Russia is big, but not as big as we see it on the Mercator map. Sure, it is big. It is very big, but not at that size. China is big as well, and with Mongolia, but not as big as we are being shown. Australia is definitely way bigger than North America as well. As you can see, North America, the States and Canada are big, but they need Mexico to be of a bigger size. South America is way bigger. And of course, we have India, which is super big. Check out like the size of India compared to the UK, right? So, size of the continents, first of all, then the distances. This map was used for navigation for boats and ships, and then afterwards, when the planes were made available for our human species, for air travel as well. There is no, when I say no, look at the ocean, the size of the ocean, especially the Pacific Ocean, but also because the Atlantic Ocean, which is between the 4 continents, is small, and it's so easy to travel between the continents. But what happens when you want to go in a straight line? I say in a straight line from the western side of America in a straight line, or South America in a straight line, or like from Brazil here in a straight line, or from Africa in a straight line, from Australia in a straight line. There's no ships in a straight line. There's no airplanes in a straight line. You go to a modern airport or a modern port, and all the routes go close to the continents from one country to another. They always go close to the continents. They always fly close to the continents. They never go beyond. And of course, we have the 60th parallel, which is, well, can see it here. You have like the Shetland, you have like the Falklands with what they were called Malvinas, which is interesting because this map shows the Falkland Islands in 1892, and Argentina was a country back then, but they're still called the Falkland Islands. So the whole thing about Malvinas and the Falkland being like, no, for one country or another, that's just like typical political stuff, because you can call it either way you want. It's 1892 and they're still called the Falkland Islands. Anyway, this is the Shetlands, you see here. So you're not allowed to go anywhere beyond this. They knew about the names of the lands here, and that's pretty much it. And of course from South Africa as well, not allowed to go beyond. And that's pretty much it. And this map, of course, is made after the knowledge of what our human species got from the previous centuries. And this is what people laugh at. People don't care about understanding what is.
Get NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV to watch up to 4 games live at once with Multiview. Watch every game, every Sunday, all in one place.
What is scientifically and practically correct, what respects the reality of the real world. The big majority of people, they don't care. This map is free and nobody cares to study it. It explains pretty much everything. It explains how you can circumnavigate the whole world. Of course, the circumnavigation is always on a circle. It's never like from the north to south, like go from Greenland in a straight line to Antarctica and see if you get back to Greenland via like on this side, via between Russia and Alaska, which was part of Russia back in the day. No, because there is no 3D globe. There is no globe. Everything is just a plane, as in a plane, and then not an airplane, but a plane, as in, you get my point. You have like the June solstice explaining here how the movement with the tropics and the equator. And June 21st being the solstice, and then you also have the December solstice, very important, the sun. And this whole thing with the sun, when people, especially Christian people, they always blame, oh, it's all about the sun cult. But of course it's the sun cult, because without the sun there is no life. Without we having the sun here on this circle moving in the analemma format, we are not able to live. This place is like this because we have a sun. I don't know who put the sun there, and I don't know what the sun is besides the fact that it's electromagnetic. But if it wasn't for that sun, this place would be exactly like Antarctica. It would be ice and death and nothing. So that's what an experiment means. You have a pool here and the sun keeps the water liquid, and then you go in a straight line over the freezer, which I absolutely love this when they call it here. Perpendicular or something, barrier of ice. I love that, barrier of ice, and it goes all the way in a perfect circle. Barrier of ice. Now the big question is what is beyond the barrier of ice, and that destroys completely not just the globe spinning in space with curved water, but also the Christianity and the Islam and the Buddhist and all the religions and everything else, because everybody just thinks that we are so special and we are the only ones. After the barrier of ice, there's other worlds, there's other humanities, there's what we call dimensions, if you want, but they're not like of course dimensions exist the way you see it in movies, but in this case I'm meaning like in the same dimension. So you just go in a straight line and you get to other cities, to other worlds, and then the question comes, so are they part of the same creation? No, because we're supposed to be so special and unique here. And that's why this map is so scary for everybody, not just for like people who live on a globe, but also people who go to church every day, people who always comment in my comments about Jesus Christ and God this, God that, because they just follow the doctrine that was imposed to them since the 1800s. But nobody cares about actually analyzing the facts presented. And it's so simple. It's so simple, like something like this, which is absolutely for free and available, and you have like the best quality ever. Like you can zoom all the way you want. I mean, of course, don't zoom like this, but even if you zoom like this, you can see, for example, look at this: San Francisco, Portland, like in the States, Denver, Cincinnati, Nashville, Washington. It's so readable. You don't even need that many details, yet you do have even the details of islands and stuff. So this is when people like say that the flat earth map is ridicule. The flat earth map you see online, the typical standard one, was made after this. And Gleason, even though it's not perfect, it's the only thing we have near to the real world. Now, of course, Vibes of Cosmos goes a bit beyond this, but we don't know until what extent Vibes of Cosmos, like where does he get the information from? Sure, from all the information presented online, the one from Vibes of Cosmos is the one that I like the most because it approaches human logic with logic. All the others have lots of fantasy that they present. So, what else can I say? For me, this map is impressive. I actually wanted to make a video about, we're probably going to make more videos in the future with several things, but I just wanted to present you the map like it is. First of all, just to, I mean, this is like the best quality photo ever. And you even have here, for example, you have like in English miles corresponding to nautical miles. So, and the degrees. So if you want to calculate on land and on sea, minutes and degrees of longitude, and corresponding to minutes of sun time. It's just so fascinating. Like, you know, even for those of you who go specifically to study geography at university and to be professionals about this, the upper portion of the scale shows the relations that English or land miles sustain to nautical or sea miles, sometimes called geographical. The lower half shows minutes and degrees of the arc as compared to sun time. By laying a straight edge across the scale, it shows the relations of all the divisions. And people laugh at this. People laugh and insult this on the internet, online. Also, like the way that was published by the Buffalo Electrotype and Engraving Company. So it was published in the United States of America. And it's interesting how it's called Buffalo Electrotype. Electrotype. You know, everything was so in those days about electricity and electrotype. So yeah. Oh yes, and this is very awesome. Let's read it because we have the map here and it's not much text because the text is like not that dense. We have the June solstice. And this is where like everything we have on the internet today comes from. In the figures June and December, the white represents the sun's position in his respective months at noon. This shows, you see, position. This shows sunlight inside the Arctic Circle for 24 hours. Look at this. That's the reason why you have sunlight in the Arctic Circle, what we call the north, which is the central part. From June 21st, the sun moves around the tropics in a spiral circle. Spiral circle. Of course, we have to take into consideration the analemma because in those days, these guys, they didn't have the technology of stop motion and cameras and all that stuff, you know. Widening every day until it reaches its destiny on the southern or outer solstice on December 21st. Southern means what we call like concentrical circles from the central part going outwards. And then we go to the December solstice, and you see here, there's no more 24 hours in the Arctic Circle. On December 21st, the sun moves around the Tropic of Capricorn, which is the one further away from the equator and the exterior, and during the day lights up the southern portion of the Earth. Well, southern means what's close to the ice barrier, right? Portion of Earth from the Arctic Circle to some portion of Antarctic ice. It says to some portion of Antarctic ice, and that portion of Antarctic ice is where the ships and the boats go for tourist purposes. When I showed you in the previous videos, when the temperatures go from -2 to 8 degrees Celsius in the months of December to February. And only in those areas where the sun reaches, because beyond that, the temperature goes to -90 degrees Celsius and it's impossible to go. That's what we call space. They show us in the movies as in black space, that you die if your suit breaks. So there is no sunlight. Check this out. This is amazing. There is no sunlight beyond 80 degrees south, but unknown regions of ice. On the 23rd of December, the sun commences his northward journey again, returning to his starting place and thus completes his seasons. This is one of the most epic, most super ultra mega, and I use those words because I truly feel excited when I read this. there is no sunlight beyond 80 degrees south, but unknown regions of ice and darkness and bad and of course until you reach the next sun. That's why you need super technology. So even if you would have, I think you have to, that's why the Germans were able to go, because you need a submarine, man. You can't, unless you have a submarine to go to be protected from the winds and the ice and the lack of sun. Imagine like the lack of sun. You need to go underwater, because that's the only way you can go outside here. So when the Antarctic Treaty was put in place and people just go, oh, the Antarctic Treaty, yes, of course, yeah, they block us and they don't allow us to go. But what do you do as a common mortal, you so special in your corner, if beyond 80 degrees south there is only unknown regions of ice and there is no sunlight? You die. Unless you have super technology to survive those thousands of kilometers of death. And that is what is called space in the movies. Yes, indeed, they do tell us the truths if you understand them, if you can read to the comment to what they show you. It's space because it's like it's an ice barrier. It's space, not space like we know it from the movies from Star Wars, but space as in like physical space. And it's thousands of kilometers of ice and no sunlight and almost minus 90 or 100 degrees Celsius, minus 90 below zero. Death, it's impossible unless you find a way underwater, or unless you have super awesome, mega amazing technology of the type that would protect you from minus 90 degrees Celsius and who knows what else. So can you imagine? Now the big question is, who is God or the gods? Who created this place? And what is beyond the ice barrier? Are there other worlds with other suns? Or is it just ice? You see, nobody has the answer to that question. That's absolutely fascinating. Remember, these texts, and this is the first time I'm reading this in public, these texts were written in 1892. And the last explorers who went to the polar regions, as they call them, were before the Second World War and between the First World War. That's when our human species adventured themselves, and then they were blocked. They said, okay, after the Second World War, no way. Humanity from this place must not be allowed to go. Because until that point, remember, this world was reset. And the first humans arrived between 1850 and 1880. There were barely any adults in the world. And 1890, after almost half a century, the adults of the world finally made this. And then the first adults started exploring this place from 1890, well, actually a bit before, from 1860 all the way until 1940. And the Germans made it the furthest, and that's it in the Antarctic Treaty. And then we start with, as you know, NASA and Apollo and everything else. So, isn't this fascinating? It is. We could speak about this and chat about this for hours and days, because it would never be boring. But let's keep it there. So remember, 35 megabytes. There are certain versions like 7 to 10 megabytes, but this is like the best one you can find on the internet. 35 megabytes. It's actually on my shop online. I've actually posted it there for like a long time. So see you in the next video.